Hi, welcome to episode 23 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at The Corner of Knit and Tea, which is where this episode's show notes will be, and all episodes' show notes. I have a shop on Etsy called The Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn. And we have a group over on Ravelry called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Please come and join us. So hi, how is everyone? It is Sunday, January 18th, and we have had a pretty good week. It was a little bit of a short week. My husband actually had LASIK on his eyes on Friday, and that has turned out to be incredibly successful. He was very uncomfortable on Friday, but woke up yesterday morning, Saturday, ready to go. And he is seeing super well and enjoying it. We got him a new pair of sunglasses yesterday. Anyway, so that meant that I took Friday off to go be with him and be his driver, which meant I got some extra crafting time and a little bit of a short week at work. And then on Monday, it is the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday for those of us in the United States. So I actually won't be working then either. And I have a lunch date with some friends for some nitty time. So it's a long weekend, lots of crafty things going on, which I'm really enjoying. And just a little hanging out, kind of just hanging around the house, doing lots of crafts. And the weather has actually been beautiful. The last couple weeks were super cold, but it warmed up. It actually got up to 57 on Friday, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Yesterday was quite a bit windier, and so not as much fun outside, but it has just been a nice weekend and a good kind of relaxing break. So I don't know that we specifically needed a break right after the holidays, but it has been just a super nice time. So I hope you are doing well, and I will jump into the show. Today I am drinking Mighty Leaf tea. It's their organic Darjeeling estate, and it was a free sample that came with an order. And I am using my favorite Kansas mug. I believe I've shown this one before. It says, "Dorothy, hate Oz, took the shoes, find your own way home, love Toto." And I will put a link to where you can get this mug in the show notes if they're still selling them. I can't remember. I bought it quite a while ago just because it cracked me up. We're big on Kansas jokes because, of course, or Wizard of Oz jokes because we're in Kansas. So that is, like I said, organic Darjeeling estate in my Kansas mug. And that is quite good, just a good black tea for a Sunday morning. So I was just kind of going through my samples and seeing what sounded good. So that is what I have for you there. What I am wearing, I think I have worn this before. It is my favorite sweater to spend the weekend in. It is the Climbing Vines pullover, which was an interweave pattern. And I knit this for the, well, now they're the Ravelinic Games. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I knit these for the Winter Games in 2010, and the yarn is Queensland Kathmandu Aran, which unfortunately is no longer being made, but is just a fabulous mix of, it's got some wool and some cashmere in it, and it's warm and cozy, and this is just my favorite sweater to lounge around in, so it was a good choice for today, especially since it's not super cold. But I just decided to kind of hang out. So that is what I'm sipping and what I'm wearing. So let's go into knitting. I told you last week that my plans for this week were to continue working on the leftovers cowl and to cozy all the things. First, I had bought a teapot just before Christmas. It's super cute. It's a 2-cup ceramic teapot. And I wanted to knit a tea cozy for it because there were several patterns I had my eye on. And as it turns out, Tilly Trout, who does the Tilly Trout Knits podcast and has a group over on Ravelry called Trout Mail, was doing a tea cozy along, which started on January 12th. So I waited to cast on Monday, and I knit myself a tea cozy. I used a mixture of two patterns. The first one that I really liked was Ribbed and Ruffled Tea Cozies by Church Mouse Yarn and Teas. And I really liked that one and started to knit it, and it came out way too big. It was for a larger teapot. And then Liz, who is the travel correspondent over on Come Knit With Us, pointed out another pattern to me. It's called Tea Mitten, and it is by Elizabeth. Ooh, let me check my notes because I did write it down. It's by Elizabeth Clevin, and it is called Tea Mitten, and it had a gusset for the spout, which we both thought was super cute and clever. So I went ahead and sort of mishmashed the two patterns together and knit myself a cute little tea cozy. Now, the yarn is Noro. I misspoke last week. It's not Curion, it's Silk Garden. I grabbed that, I guess, by mistake, but it is Noro Silk Garden. And like I said, I mishmashed the two patterns, and this one was you knit in the round from the bottom, and it's got the cute little gusset for the spout, and then you just leave a hole so that it will fit over the handle and do a cute little button flap. And I had some cute bronze buttons which I added to it, which I think are perfect. And now my tea cozy, or my teapot, is covered nice and warm. So now I will just need to start using it, but that is my tea cozy. I may end up knitting more tea cozies because this was kind of fun, but my teapot has been cozied. So that is finished object number 1. All the information will be in the show notes. The second project that I wanted to cozy is it has been super cold here, and about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I gave in and ordered a hot water bottle. And I had been watching several people knit the hand-spun hottie pattern, which is by Lori Claire, using some of their handspun. So I dug through my bins for handspun that I had made a while ago. And actually I took this with me on Friday when my husband was having his surgery, and cast on in the waiting room and cast off yesterday. And I knit myself a handspun water bottle cozy. This is some yarn that I spun several months ago, a couple years ago. It is 2 if by hand, and it was for a special spin-along group in, special spin-along in the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary group, and it was inspired by Day of the Dead photographs, and the colorway was Calaveras. So it's got purples and browns and a little bit of pink and red and orange and light blue, and it is just absolutely luscious, and I love it as a handspun water bottle cozy. And I'm not sure this is my last water bottle cozy either. If you're looking for one, let me know, because this was super fun to do. And the water bottle itself I got from Amazon for, I want to say, about $15, although I think you can get them cheaper. And like I said, this took me about a day and a half to knit, and now I can't wait to fill it with hot water and use it in the cold weather. So that is my second cozy all the things project for this week. Now all the things are cozied, and I'm not sure what I will move on to. My third project for the week is my leftovers cowl, and I have been showing you that as time has been going on. I am using sock scraps and the leftovers cowl pattern by Wendy Johnson, and it is a fabulous pattern. I'm really enjoying it. I did have some discussion online with a few other people this week, including Cara from Knit All the Things podcast, and she had started hers. And the way the pattern is written, they give you a couple charts. I don't want to give anything away because it is a paid pattern, but they give you a couple charts, and you're supposed to repeat the charts several times to complete the pattern. And Cara said, well, aren't you going to pick some of your own charts and add some of your own stuff in? Because that's what I'm going to do. And I thought about it, and I thought, wow, you know, it would be kind of more interesting than knitting the same charts over and over and over again. So I went looking through my books, and wouldn't you know it, I don't even remember purchasing this book. And it was, at first I thought maybe it came from my grandmother, but it was published a few years after she died, so it did not. And I do not know how I got this book, but this book is by Deborah Mountford. It's called Aran and Fair Isle Knitting. And it's the Harmony Guide to Aran and Fair Isle Knitting, and it is available on Amazon. And like I said, I have no idea where this came from. The first half of the book is all about knitting Aran sweaters and has all kinds of different charts on Aran cables and how to work them together in patterns. And the second half of the book is Fair Isle, and it is how to design your own garments. And so the last probably 20 or 30 pages of the book is charts and all kinds of different patterns. They've got a couple sweater patterns and whatnot talking about it, but it's all kinds of charts in all kinds of different patterns so that you can basically work your own Fair Isle magic. And so I have been using some of these charts, and I went ahead and built my own section in the cowl, which was kind of fun. So now I'll show you what I'm talking about. When we last left off, I believe I was at the yellow with the blue triangles. And so I finished the previous chart, which included the red and white, and then the purple and purple. And then this whole next section here, which is the pink X's and the kind of geometric green and gray, and the yellow and blue, and the kind of fake argyle, and the wave pattern, and these X's up at the top. Those are all charts that I pulled from various places to kind of make up my own section. And the deal is that each chart, or the sections of the charts, are 100 and one is 50 stitches, one is 50 rows, one is 51 rows. So I went ahead and found 50 rows of Fair Isle to fill in. And now I'm going to go back to the charts for another repeat. So it will look like the bottom of the cowl in terms of the way the charts are put together. And then when I finish another repeat, I'll probably go back and pull some more charts on my own. So that is pretty much the section that I finished this week. And basically now that I have 3 of the 12 charts done, I am a quarter of the way there, which means that this is going to be really big and really cozy, but I absolutely love the way it is working up. Love, love, love it. It is a mishmash of cheerful color and all kinds of different patterns, and I am positively thrilled with it. So this is my week 3 progress on my leftovers cowl. So that brings me to what I'm going to work on this week. The cowl is not terribly portable because I need books and charts and all of my colors to choose from. So that has been my home project, and I have been squeezing in some other very small projects kind of to take to work for lunch hours and take to knit night and when I'm out and about. And there is a Harry Potter challenge prompt. It is for a game of Quidditch, and I believe it runs January 18th or 19th, which is tomorrow. It's either today or tomorrow through February 11th. And it is to craft an item of at least 375 yards and craft it in memory of one of the founding house members. So Godric Gryffindor, Rowena Ravenclaw, and I can't remember the other 2. Bad Harry Potter girl. But so I decided that I wanted to do something out of my handspun because I have been itching to use this handspun, which was my last handspun for the end of last year. This was the combo spin that I showed you of some Southern Cross Fiber and some Spunky Eclectic. And it is about 600 yards fingering, or 650 yards fingering, and I was super excited to use it. It's squishy, it's soft. And I think I decided that I am going to try and knit a Quaker Ridge shawlette. So I'm sorry, a Quaker yarn stretcher shawl. So that is basically, it is a shawl where you start out at one point and you keep knitting until you run out of yarn, which is perfect because I want to use up every last inch of the handspun. And I believe it calls for yarn at a heavier gauge than what I have, but that's fine because I think it only calls for like between 300 and 400 yards. And I have 600, so I should be able to make that up. and I plan to wind this up this evening and cast that on tomorrow, and hopefully that will be my project for the next couple weeks while I'm at work and those kinds of things. So itching to knit with my hand spun right now, so I'm picking out some skeins that I have spun that I've loved and moving forward with that. So that will be on the needles this week, and I will have this and more of the leftovers cowl to show you next week. So that is what's on my needles, which brings me to what's on my wheel. Last week I showed you a braid of fiber by Cloud Lover Yarn and Fibers, who has a beautiful shop. It was a braid of Falkland in all kinds of purples and blues, and it was called Concord. And I spun that this week and applied it up on Friday, and I am super pleased with it. It is finished. And my monitor has a little bit of trouble. As far as I'm concerned, this is kind of a combination of navies, indigos, and a little bit of violet. And then there were a few lighter streaks as I showed you, so you can see how those came out. And this is probably a sport weight. I have not done yardage yet. My guess is somewhere in the high 200s or low 300s. I think I got a little bit less yardage on this one than some of the others that I've done recently. This will be going up in the shop probably this evening, about the same time the podcast launches. So if you are interested, I'm thinking about calling it Fathoms because it is just such beautiful blues and purples. So that is what was off my wheel this week, which means it is time to start spinning again. And actually last week I told you I was going to do a spinning segment on here with my wheel, which I will be filming just as soon as I finish this small portion of the podcast. So I have selected this week's spins, which is Southern Cross Fiber. It was a club colorway on Blue Faced Leicester, and it is called After the Rains. And it is kind of a foresty green and kind of a brighter green, and then it's got burgundies and purples. And this is just going to be a beautiful spin. It's on, I believe I said Blue Faced Leicester. So that is what I'm about to start, and actually you will see me about to start it because in just a few moments I'm going to break and do another section of the recording. So if you'll hold tight, I'm going to reset up. I'm going to use a slightly different camera, and we will go ahead and film a little bit of my wheel and my spinning. So hang on just a moment. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. This is my wheel. It is an Ashford Joy double treadle, and I absolutely love it. I went, and this is actually the first wheel that I sat down at to see how I felt about wheels. I went on to do testing of quite a few other wheels. I spun at Louette and Fricky's, and I spun at a Matchless, which I absolutely loved, and several Kromskys, and I'm trying to think what else. I spun at a couple Magic Crafts. And I ended up with the first one that I really loved. I purchased the wheel from Nicole Lohr, who is out at the Harveyville Project, and I got a great deal on it and have loved it ever since. That was around Christmas of 2010, so my wheel is 4 years old. I do not have a name for it. That has not happened. But I do love the wheel. I have 6 or 8 bobbins for it. And the nice thing about the Ashford bobbins is they're not terribly expensive. If I remember correctly, I think they're around $25. They hold approximately 6 ounces of fiber, although I once managed to squeeze a little over 7 on there, but it wasn't pretty. And I just absolutely love this wheel. The treadles fold up so that I can take it and travel with it whenever I want to, and I do to spin-ins. It is light and very portable. One of the things that some people don't like about it is that it's small. The treadles are very close together and it sits very low. So I do have friends who are taller and bigger than I am who do not enjoy it. I'm 5'3", so I'm not super tall and don't have very long legs, so it works perfectly for me. The fiber that I am spinning that you see on the wheel is the fiber that I showed you. This is the Southern Cross fiber after the rains, and I just got it started a little bit so that I wouldn't have anything embarrassing happen on camera. I am spinning on my largest whorl. I have to tell you that I actually do not do much with the ratios, and I generally just spin on one. I should figure out what some of the others would do for me, but generally I just stick with the top and set it up to go. So this is Blue-Faced Leicester, which I find fairly easy to spin. In general, I use a short forward draw, which is sometimes called the inchworm method. I find that I get my most consistent spin if I spin this way, and then I just draft from the fiber and go. And this is pretty much how you will find me spending most of my evenings. Unfortunately, I do not have anything to ply right now, although I could come back later in the week and do a short section of plying. Basically, normally I spin counterclockwise, and then I spin clockwise, and then I ply counterclockwise to give me my S and Z. So normally I just spin and do a few segments of fiber at a time, generally about an ounce at a time over several nights, and then ply on the last night. And the total for a skein of yarn is usually about 6 hours. It can be a little more or less depending on how much fiber there is, how thin it wants to spin, etc. So that is my wheel and me spinning, and it probably needs a little oil because you can hear it. It's a little clicky, but I find the treadling soothing, and I'm very used to the sounds of the wheel, so I actually don't even notice them that much anymore. Anyway, I suppose that's about it for this short segment. We'll go back and say our goodbyes. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks! I hope you enjoyed that little segment of my spinning. I do love my wheel. It was one of the first ones that I sat down at, and I just fell in love with it because it was so easy to treadle, and it helps me make all the beautiful yarns that I have spun. So I suppose that is it for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have had a wonderful week, wonderful weekend, and are looking forward to another new week with lots of new spins and knits and creative things. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.